Okay, so title deed is the fundamental thing that backs up property in our country. I mean, it's the proof that you own a property. And a title deed is transferable. So what's interesting is when I did my studies a while back, one of the things that came through as one of the main reasons why the rest of Africa hasn't grown at the pace that South Africa has grown over the long term is coming down to property rights, and that's title deeds. You want to be sure that if I pay something for a piece of land, that is my land, and that's a title deed, and nobody can take that away from me unless there's some crazy circumstances. So that is the fundamental thing that backs up our successful economy and why we have done better than other countries in the world, specifically Africa, that have not got title deeds. And the reason is fairly simple. For anything to grow, you need money. So we've spoken earlier on, if you want to do a property development, I need to get money. I don't have the money myself. I need to grow. So how do you get that money? And most people get the money from banks. A bank cannot give you money if it doesn't have collateral or security. Now, how it gets collateral is it takes over the title deed. It says to you, I register a bond. I'm Mr. F&B. I've given you $5 million. I register over that bond in the deeds office. It says, before this property can be transferred, before Noel Scott-Sear can sell it to somebody else, I must cancel my bond. And the bank must be paid back their money. Now, if you don't have a title deed and you don't have the protection of property rights, you can't get money from a bank. And then, if you can't get money from the bank, you can't develop and you can't grow. So that is the fundamental thing, the fact that we have title deeds and secure property rights that has enabled our economy to grow. I know there's extreme circumstances and it's quite a topical debate in South Africa with regards to land ownership and this and that. There's even good examples where you can invest in areas, let's say homeland areas or tribal areas, where you don't get a title deed, you get something called a permission to occupy. The problem with that is that the local authority or tribal authority has the ultimate right on that title. They own the property and they say you're allowed to stay there. A lot of places have leaseholds. You're allowed to stay there. Now, leaseholds are, if it's a very long-term leasehold, then it is actually registered against the title. And there's cases like with Waterfall Estate in Johannesburg, where it is a leasehold scheme, but it's seen by the banks as a full title scheme. But in most instances, a leasehold or a permission to occupy does not give a bank security, because if something goes wrong, if they've lent you the money and you can't pay and they need to come and take that house and sell it on auction to get their money back, there's something in that documentation that usually gives the owner of the property, which remember is not you, it's the local authority or the tribal authority, the permission to stop you from transferring to somebody else. Now, if the bank can't sell to somebody on the open market, so the highest bidder, let's say you're at an auction and I walk in, I want to buy a property and the bank's auctioning off the property. And I say, I'll pay for the property, I want it. The bank must be able to sell to me. But if there's a condition that says the local authority or the tribal authority must prove that transfer to me, or I'm not allowed to transfer to you, the bank can't sell the property, can't get their money back, and they won't touch it. So fundamental thing to our economy and our growth in our economy and our continued growth is property rights. But like I said, and I come back, you can still invest in a property. The bank's not going to touch it though. So if you go and build a property in a tribal area and you can get a good rental return on that property, great. Go for it if you want to. Just remember, you won't be able to go to a bank and get more money off of that. And that's also, I'm saying it in inverted commas. If you have 20 properties in a tribal area and they're all bringing you income and you show it as a personal income, the bank might give you some money based on your personal income, but they'll never give you as much money as when they could take collateral or security over the property. So title deeds are vitally important. And that's where the developed world, the first world, has really got a big difference between us and other countries that struggle. We're not a first world country per se, but we are a third world mixed with a first world country. And that's the big difference. That's why our places like Zimbabwe collapsed, is because the banks couldn't lend any more money. People got their farms taken from them, and all the spillover effects. Inflation goes through the roof. Everybody just loses money and the country comes to a standstill. So title deeds are extremely important, and the sanctity of property rights.